All right. Well, good evening, Fighting Scots. I'm Jen Armstrong, the Director of Alumni Engagement at Monmouth College. I want to welcome you to our Athletics Town Hall tonight with our very own Athletic Director, Roger Haynes, class of 82, and Michael Blazing, class of 96, who is tonight's moderator and our Fighting Scots gift officer. We're so thrilled that you're all joining us. Before we begin, I want to cover some housekeeping items. So tonight's events will be recorded and they're available on the Monmouth College website next week. For the best viewing experience during this town hall, please ensure that you are in speaker mode, which can be selected in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. Attendees can ask questions using the chat feature on your screen. Be sure to select all panelists when you send your question or comment. We'll answer the questions at the end of the presentation, and we'll do our best to get to everyone's question, time permitting. At the end of this event, you'll see a short survey. It takes about 3 minutes to complete. We'd love to hear your feedback and your suggestions for future events. So now I'd like to introduce our presenter. Athletic Director Roger Haynes is entering his 38th year as head coach of the men's track program and 22nd of the women as the women's coach of the track program. Coach Haynes has become a fixture in Monmouth athletics for more than 40 years as a student athlete, coach, and administrator. Coming to Monmouth from nearby Avon, Illinois, as a student athlete in the late 70s, Haynes stayed at his alma mater, where he currently serves as the director of athletics and fitness and head track and field coach, in addition to teaching in the Department of Kinesiology. That's a long list. So he is also a former record holder in the high jump and javelin. And Haynes graduated from Monmouth in 1982. In 2007, he was named the Division III Men's National Coach of the Year for the indoor season by U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. He was inducted into the Monmouth M Club Hall of Fame in 1997. So, Roger, thanks for all you do for your alma mater and for being with us tonight. And Michael, Coach Haynes, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
All right, thanks, Jen. Well, I won't even try to follow that introduction of Coach, but am glad to be here, as Jen said. For those of you who don't know me, graduated in '96 from the college, was able to and be fortunate to play basketball and baseball here at the college. I married my wife, who's also a graduate as well. And as it turns out, our oldest daughter, Madeline, is a freshman at Monmouth. So certainly have some Monmouth roots. And then there are some other Monmouth relatives who are connected to the college too, that I'm related to, which we can go into later if we want. But and as Jen said, I am in a position, it's a newer position as a development officer for athletics and corporations here at Monmouth. Which has been about the last 8 months. We'll kind of just maybe dip a toe into that later. But yeah, that's not what the intent is for this evening. This is a chance to get an update on what's happening with our Fighting Scots athletics program. So, Coach, let's dive right in. And you know, what a year it's been for the Fighting Scots. There's been ups, there's been downs over the last year. So let's just start, over that last year. How have, our teams and your teams and the coaches managed this roller coaster ride?
Thanks, Michael. COVID-19 started for me when I was at practice in North Carolina at the Ncaa Indoor Championships a year ago. We were told at about 1 p.m. that there'd be no fans. And by the time we got back to the hotel at 3 p.m., we were told to change our airline tickets, get our stuff picked up, and go home. There was no national meet. So we had 3 young men out there wanting to compete about 15 hours later and had that chance taken away from them. So it's been a difficult time since then. The positives, I would say, the kids in our program have been really disciplined in their approach. They've done a nice job with masking and social distancing. We took about 10,000 temperatures for practice this year in the fall as a safeguard from the spread of COVID. We've had great participation by our fall and winter sports teams and spring sports teams in regards to their workouts. I feel like they've taken advantage of all the opportunities they've been given so far, but I wish I had $1 for every hour I've spent on calls with the Ncaa and the Midwest Conference learning about COVID and talking to the COVID safety group on campus, because ultimately our task has been to keep our student population safe and to try to get them to as normal a class competition or class participation as what they possibly can. And most of our classes are back in person again now with the testing we've got on campus. So it's been a long road, but the kids have done okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, if we go back a year, even maybe 15, 16 months, you know, we did have a lot to be proud of. If you go to the 2019 and then early 2020 school year in athletics, you know, seasons, we had some great performances, both team performances, individual performances. Just to name a few here, I mean, football program won another conference championship, qualified for the NCAA tournament. Women's soccer were crowned the conference championships in the fall and also qualified for the NCAA tournament. Women's basketball won the most games in school history at 21, won a conference tournament championship, which was a really great weekend for them. Was part of the March Madness field of 64. And track and field, I mean, I don't think anyone on this call doesn't know that you churn out All-Americans and track and field championships year in and year out. So there was a lot of successes. So maybe just kind of, if you can, for the audience, review those seasons and their successes.
Absolutely. Last regular season football game we played was, I guess it was a playoff game, actually, a conference championship playoff game. It was Coach Braun's third title in 5 years. We trailed 7-3 to St. Norbert with 55 seconds left. Our defense managed to make a stop on a 4th and 1. St. Norbert chose to not kick a field goal and turn the ball over to us. Freshman quarterback Carter Boyer from Alumni West High School entered the game. Hadn't played much during the year, and as Dan Nolan, SID extraordinaire, referred to it as the drive. Boyer made a pass to Jake Uraz for a 50-yard game right off the bat. A couple more completions and a penalty got us down to the 5-yard line. Carter found Jake Uraz again in the end zone with about 3 seconds left to win the game, and what's going to end up probably is going to be our last regular season game against St. Norbert College after so many great competitions with them over the years. They're joining the Ncaa conference in Wisconsin to shorten their distances. So if anybody hasn't watched that game's available. Monmouth St. Norbert Fall of 2019 Conference Championship on YouTube. You can skirt through the first 3 quarters and get to the last minute and a half, and it's pretty exciting. One of the best games I've seen. Women's soccer Fall of 2019, exciting season as well. I believe they were ranked 3rd going into the conference tournament, beat Cornell in an opening round game, and then avenged a 1-0 loss to Knox College in the 6th round of a shootout after 2 overtimes. That qualified us for our first NCAA tournament. We went on to lose 1-0 to St. Thomas on St. Thomas's field, but played extremely well. KJ Gordon and JC Reese, 2 of our senior forwards, were named 2nd and 3rd team all region by the Coaches Association. So crowning tournament championship for the women. Same thing in women's basketball. The women's basketball team had 21 wins, which is the most in school history. Led by Coach Kyle Wilson, we beat Cornell 61-47 up at Ripon. And then the next day we defeated Ripon 74-69. Good news there. 15 out of 16 free throws in the game. Midwest Conference tournament and NCAA bid involved there too. Carly Turnbull and Becca Gallus were both named first team All Midwest Conference. And Becca from California, senior, was named the Midwest Conference Player of the Year. And that's the first Women's Conference Player of the Year we've had. So then quickly in track and field, our men won the 21 straight conference title at Grinnell Indoor. And as I said earlier, our participation was shut down at the national meet. Joe Krall was named Outstanding Field Event Performer. Drew Thaxton won the shot put, setting a school record. We won the 4x2, 4x4 relay championships. Nearby, Zach Vansel from West Central won the 400 meters. Austin Fow and Darius Williams won the triple jump and the long jump. And Alika Gensler on the women's side was the high jump champion for the women. So those have been our last real competitive competitions, and it was a good season for us for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And as much success as we had, one of the things that probably doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves. I mean, as an employee and an alum, now I tout it all the time to folks, but as the work that our student athletes are doing in the classroom, there are a lot of them on our campus, which I love to see as a former athlete, but they do really well in the classroom too. And there were some awards there for this last season that we played. So maybe detail a few of those accomplishments.
Absolutely. We started recognizing our academic all-conference awards when we started the Fighting Scott Awards program 5 or 6 years ago now, I think. We made this a priority for our program when I took over as the AD, I think 13 years ago now. At the time, we had just over 50 that earned academic all-conference. Last year, we had 247. We had 93 fall sport athletes earn a 3.3 or higher GPA. We had 72 in the winter and then 82 more in the spring. So that's our largest total. We were third in the 10-team league there with probably our highest finish in terms of the number of academic all-conference players as well. Had a number of folks recognized by their NCAA coaches associations as well. Alika Gensler, Austin Fow, and Cindy Ladner were all academic All-American in track. I'm proud of that because both it takes a top 50 performance and a 3.3 plus GPA during their season to do that. Mick Moore was named academic All-American as an individual in cross country. The men and women's cross country teams both made academic All-American in the same season for the first time. The women were above 3.5 and the men were above the required 3.3 collectively. I know volleyball had a 3.62 and they earned academic All-American as a team. That's a ninth time in school history. And women's golf are 2 seniors, Haley Hoekstra, Kenesha Watley, and then junior Mamie Ambrose from Metamora. They were recognized as academic All-Americans from the Women Golf Coaches Association. I did my research this afternoon. Dan Boland probably knows who I missed, but I had to go through all the archives and try to find those. So I apologize if we miss anybody's academic All-American recognition, but great year for us at the conference level, great year for us at the national level academically as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a ton to be proud of. I certainly know I am again, as an alum and a former athlete. So, it's a situation where we can't wait to see, them continue on the athletic courts and athletic fields because they're certainly doing the work in the classroom. So certainly proud of them. Let's change gears just a little bit. We've added, well, let me go back. We've lost a few coaches, somewhat recently, but we've added some really good coaches. And in your words, you've described them as great teachers, tacticians, and leaders. So looking ahead to their futures at Monmouth, can you talk a little bit about them and kind of what we can expect from them and their teams?
Yeah, we were faced, fortunately, I knew a year in advance, we were faced with the retirement of longtime softball coach John Goddard. Coach Goddard did an excellent job for us. He let me know a year ago in advance, so we were well prepared for that position to open up. We feel really good about our new coach. We hired Alexa McClory. She'd previously been at McMurray College. She's a U of I Illinois Springfield softball player. She was a 4-time academic all-conference honoree. Cum laude graduate with a degree in mathematical sciences. I'm not sure how her and I get along with Matt as a math science person, but probably because she has a master's degree in kinesiology from SIU Edwardsville. In our interview, we asked her for some hitting instruction, and she went on about a 30-minute discussion about hitting from the ground up and certainly impressed me. And I know our players are happy at this point in time in regards to what they've been able to do in the fall. We have one of our largest rosters. Coach Goddard to help credit for that. I think he brought in 9 new players, and Coach Alexa had couple girls transfer with her from McMurray, and she found a couple more recruits. So one of our largest rosters in softball in a number of years, and I'm looking forward to seeing the product that she puts on the field for certain. Men's soccer, Ian Hatlily, we hired Ian a year ago in the summer. Ian comes to us from Wabash College. His coaching experience, he was a 2-time captain at Millikan University and started all but a couple games for them during his career. He has a degree in exercise science, as I said, from Millikan. Has a wife and a new daughter that he's brought to town, and I think he's tired of working on his house that he's bought already. Has had some issues with that, but I think he's getting on the good side of that now. Ian had a good fall with our men's players and has done a good job recruiting already as well. And our third and final new coach coming to us is Lucas Henderson. Lucas is the women's soccer coach. He was the inaugural head coach at Bryant and Stratton College in Wisconsin. And in just 2 years there, he's brought them to a 14-10 record and had 2 National Junior College Association playoff appearances, actually beat 2 nationally ranked teams a year ago. Is a goalkeeper by expertise. He graduated from UW-Eau Claire and recently, and is currently working on his master's degree to complete that at UW Parkside. So all 3 of them, great energy for their recruiting. I believe strong teachers through the interview process. I've been able to watch and hear some of what they've done at practice. So think good things for all 3 of those programs upcoming.
And you know, just I didn't mention it earlier. I've been at the college for 23 years as an employee, and then obviously another 4 as a student. And you know, athletics has been a huge part of my life here at the college. And you know, in those years, we've had a lot of success. I mean, we're talking recent successes, but it's been really well, at least in my experience, a really good 20-year run of success in most, if not all, of our athletic programs. And our coaches like sometimes can make it look easy. I think that others sometimes kind of take it for granted that, well, we're just going to win. Those of us in the know realize that it's not easy, though. It takes a lot of work to ensure that their student athletes are prepared both in the classroom and on the field. And to ensure that they have the resources that they need to compete. So, Coach, you mentioned 13 years as an AD, and continue to lead the efforts, improving our facilities, providing new whether it's equipment, better training facilities, recovery resources. Talk a little bit about some of those projects, maybe a little bit more recently, that have been completed over the last few years that have allowed our student athletes to continue to remain competitive at the national level.
Sure, Michael. President Maury Ditzler and VP for Development at the time, Steve Bloomer, helped get the Fighting Scots Society going. They both viewed it as an accessory to the general fund, and they were correct that the general fund hasn't taken a hit, and athletics has really benefited tremendously from those types of projects that people have helped us fund. The funds keep growing over year to year, and that helps us do those things that you're talking about for our athletes. 2 falls ago now, we did a large update to the free weight area in the Trotter Fitness Center. People think about our building, the Huff Center, being so new, but we actually moved in 2003. So there are some things that are needing some updates. So we updated the free weight area that gets used so much by our athletes in the fitness center. A year ago, our project were updates to the Marshall training room downstairs that all of our athletes use. New carpeting, new paint, excellent new saltwater cold tub for rehab and therapy. Everybody thinks they want to be in the hot tub for therapy, but if you're going to take care of sore muscles, you really want to be in cold temperature tub. So we've got a multi-person cold tub that we can use now that Bob Foster has access to. Some of the normal things that needed updates, we've done scoreboards for softball, for soccer, baseball, new sound system for those sports out at Peacock. Right now we're looking to increase some branding and marketing items to the Huff Center and other facilities. We want to highlight any of you that have been in or went to a game when we were in the old Monmouth College gym. You know, you walked up the stairs past the 3 pillars into the main door. Well, the stairs are gone, but the pillars are still there. We want to highlight that as the main entrance to the weight room and the Trotter Fitness Center through those old traditional columns as you enter the previous gym. In general, we've benefited a ton from Fighting Scots Society, but really it comes down to we want to provide our student athletes with exceptional experiences during their time as Fighting Scot athletes, and hope that we hit that mark most of the time.
Sure. Well, and just to interject here briefly, I mentioned in the opening that, you know, in my new position as someone who in the development office who's trying to raise, additional, money for the Fighting Scots Society, it's something that the college has not had at a full-time level. And so while a lot of this is new to us, there's been a lot of things that have been done previously that we're really proud of. And I think that, I'm excited for, what the future can hold for us in terms of not just facilities, but things that we can do to really help our student athletes and, do all the things that Roger has mentioned, over the last 25 minutes or so. So, and so with that in mind, I know that there's a couple of things that I've been working on, a few things over the last 6-8 months or so. But Roger, what are, maybe a couple of things that's on your radar for future years as it relates to our student athletes and our coaches?
As I mentioned earlier, we're looking for opportunities to improve the look of our facilities. Wanting to have a really dominant sign that welcomes you to the Trotter Fitness Center, as I said earlier, probably something pretty dramatic and backlit for recruits and for our current kids to be proud as they enter. Outdoor facilities, if you've been to a lot of facilities now, they're using the mesh windscreens that can be custom screen printed, so you can have championship seasons listed, you can have highlights of players. There are a lot of things at all of our outdoor facilities and indoor facilities that we think can look good. And then like we talked about with the weight room and the training room, day-to-day update from about 500 athletes wears things down, and we need to replace some things as well. So we want to keep working on the look, but we have to work on the day-to-day operations. And I'd also like to thank the alumni group have hosted me at homecoming a number of times, and we've talked about the need to increase meal money and improve our modes of travel. And a lot of families have donated to that. While that's not something that's super sexy in terms of putting your name on something, it's the nuts and bolts of what we live on. When we travel, we have to eat. So families have been very helpful with that, and we're making good progress there as well.
Yeah. And then as any former athlete at Monmouth will tell you, yeah, that meal money is certainly important. And, I know that just over the years, parents help out a tremendous amount. And I certainly want to take an opportunity to thank them as well. I did see, just as a quick aside, there were a couple of questions in the chat, which we certainly will get to. So don't think that I'm ignoring those. We just kind of want to get through a couple of other questions before we do open it up, and then I'll be sure to get to those questions. So, Coach, moving ahead maybe to this spring. I mean, I don't want to go out on a limb 100%, but at least at the moment, if spring sports are on target to return to competition, kind of what can we expect from our spring teams?
We're hopeful that we're going to get to play spring sports. Ncaa Sports Science and Dr. Haynes has been the main contributor to our knowledge since last March. I've been on literally hundreds of hours of calls there. I know more about COVID testing than I wish I knew. The Ncaa Sports Science Institute is basically a best practices group that gives us advice as a league and as a school. We certainly are following it because our number one priority is the safety of our student athletes. Sports Science Institute rates sports by their transmission risk. So many of our fall sports are high transmission: football, soccer, volleyball, those are all high transmission sports in regards to the type of contact and the face-to-face activity that goes on. Some of our sports are listed as medium exposure, intermediate exposure. That would be true for indoor track. That would be true for lacrosse, basketball. Low risk sports tend to be the spring sports: baseball, track and field, tennis, golf. Not a great deal of contact in those sports, so we feel like our risk level is lower. I don't want to talk about what the high schools are choosing to do, but yes, we have testing on campus now, but University of Michigan hadn't played a basketball game in almost 4 weeks with a very small group. We're interested in the overall safety of our student athletes. Any decision that's made is certainly I'm actively involved in and try to provide information, but it's definitely not a unilateral decision, as a lot of people seem to think. There are a lot of administrators and folks at the college that have to weigh the risk, and that's still what we're doing as our presidents move forward and try to make decisions for the league in those spring sports that tend to be lower risk.
Yeah, I certainly agree there. So, Coach, when you mentioned, I think it briefly earlier, but you mentioned to me maybe a week or two ago, you've been on at least a couple of 100 hours of Zoom calls. You've been talking to seemingly everyone that you either can or need to. So when you bundle it all together, is there one thing, or are there a couple of things that you're most proud of, coming out of 2020, either for yourself or for student athletes, for our coaches, or maybe just all together?
None of us have lived through this before, and some of us tend to look at it differently. I feel like I'm well informed. I feel like our campus is well informed. COVID rates are relatively low in sports, but they're still not safer than not playing sports. So it's a risk. Folks that wear and don't wear masks are making different choices. As far as what I'm proud of, our players and coaches have really stuck together. It's tough being in an office that lives with wins and losses, and we haven't had any wins and losses for a long time to keep us motivated. So we're hopeful to get back to that safely when things are able to be done. I'm looking forward to that return of the sense of energy and accomplishment, but I'm mostly looking forward to getting back into uniform to play intercollegiate sports for conference titles. I know there are some that feel like we should be playing everything in a short order. Facilities, athletic trainers, and just overall safety haven't tipped the scale that way for our administration yet. So we look forward to getting back into regular season when the presidents vote for that to happen, and we hope that's relatively soon, for sure in the fall.
Great. I want to just mention to the group, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. As I mentioned, I have seen a couple that have either come through text or the chat feature. So I'll go ahead and read you one, Roger. And I have a response to this, but I think, obviously as an athletic director and as a coach, this will be one you'll be able to respond to really well. Also, this comes from Brian Ross. It says that he's been following Monmouth College sports programs for as long as Roger's been the coach. I want to thank him and Monmouth for continuing to strengthen this important part of campus life, and sorry to see what COVID has done to athletics all over the country. So what can alumni do to help support the various teams? I know money is important, but are there any other opportunities we can do to help support? So I will go first, just to mention that prior to me being in the Alumni and Development Office, I worked in our Monmouth admission office for 10 years, recruiting students. I was, all over the state of Illinois and a couple of other states as well. And, there's another Bobby Pio, who most of who I think are on this call. We talk admission a lot, and recruiting students is vitally important. Our coaches can't see every student athlete that's out there. So if you're in a position where you can talk with a young adult, who, female or male, who is wanting to play at the Division III level in the Midwest, whether you live here or not, that's a great opportunity to help the college and also help our athletic programs. I mean, every chance I get, every game I see, every time there's parents that I know where they're watching their son or daughter, it's an opportunity for me to promote the college. And so I feel with my background in admission and the years that I've spent at the college, that's one of the best ways you can support if you're, if you're not looking at just, giving a donation to the Fighting Scots Society. I think that's one of the best ways, because we're getting, what hopefully is a 4-year student athlete who's going to go on and do great things and have an exceptional experience at the college. So that would be my answer, Brian. Roger, if you got anything else, feel free to add.
Yeah, I think recruiting is certainly the lifeblood of what we're trying to do. Everybody that can help from whatever area, if they find local kids in the paper, if they know somebody at church or somewhere else, just asking them to look at the Monmouth website and check it out is certainly a great start. I'm guessing, knowing Brian, he's probably looking for something direct. So it's a two-way street. It's good to contact coaches of sports that you're interested in. Nothing wrong with writing an open letter to a team and wishing them good luck for their season, or hoping to help push them on to some new accomplishments and look forward to seeing them play. So coaches certainly need to be reaching out to alums and folks that played letterman for us. Not a bad idea for folks on the call tonight to make a quick email or make a quick call to any of our head coaches and let them know of your interest, and just tell them who you are and what your story is. And maybe we probably need to get Brian and some of those old guys from way back when. To Tim Wolf's on here, I know, and some other folks. Probably need to get them on a Zoom sometime in a team meeting and let them tell everybody how good they were back in the day. They were pretty good. Lots of folks on the call that I saw tonight on the original list that were involved for an awful lot of great wins and a lot of conference championships, as further back than what I remember for sure. So thanks to all the folks that joined tonight. But basically, contact with the teams and the coaches is probably a good start.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, if that happens, I'm happy to moderate that group. I would really enjoy that. So, and it should be mentioned, and Coach, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I'm not sure you have the exact number, but just because you might live out of the area doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be of help when it comes to recruiting students. When I was a student here, I would say that for the most part, we were fairly local. Within, a handful of hours, that's where our bread and butter was, and it still is. But at the same time, you mentioned earlier, Becca Gallus, she was our player of the year. She's from California. I would venture to say we have somewhere between 10 and 20 out-of-state guys, and maybe 10 or 20 from Florida that are on the football team. You can speak to your programs and how many out-of-state student athletes we have, but we are not just recruiting from an hour or two away anymore. So that would be something that, even though you might be on the East or West Coast, you certainly could still help.
Number of kids from Florida. We've got a lot of alums from the football program that are coaching and teaching down there now. They've been really helpful. We have a good group of guys, basketball and track from the Houston area. Baseball coach has got a number of Texas guys based on his past experience there. Kyle Wilson in basketball. We started working in a maximizing athletics group with the administration, and I found the national survey from 2019-20 on sports participation rates from the National Federation of High School Sports. California, Texas, Florida, about 3 times as many people playing football in Florida as there are in Illinois. So just from a pure number, out-of-state kids, they have a better opportunity for some financial aid packages than what they may have in years past. The priority has changed. We still want to get the best kids locally and in Illinois, but we're also looking out of state for kids that have specific abilities academically and athletically that are really helpful for us. So if you've got out of state folks, just get them in touch with us or get them on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me double check the, oh, okay. Dr. Courtney's asked to please tell me how I can help recruiting for track and field in New Jersey.
First, they have to understand that you want them to come to Monmouth College in Illinois, not Monmouth and New Jersey. We get about one of those a week on a kid that wants a scholarship. So unfortunately, almost always they're looking. We basically think, Dr. Courtney, we have three types of kids. We have the walk-on D3 kid that wants it to be part of their experience in college. We're not turning anybody away. The second type of kid has a chance to be a scorer at some point in their career. And then a smaller group is the third kids that are going to make a pretty large impact right away. But we feel like we've been successful with all three of those groups. So if they have a local all-star meet, or if you see stuff about kids in the paper, or if you know anybody, as I said, at church or a social group, get them the information to Monmouth College. We'd be happy to talk with them. I just was on the phone and texting with a great sprinter from Florida just a little bit ago, and I was glad to see that he texted back and told me he's still interested. So out of state is definitely a positive for us right now.
Right. And just maybe for those that don't know, just real quickly, a sport like lacrosse is not, very well known in the Monmouth area. Certainly, there's some in Chicago area and others, but we certainly have an East Coast flavor to those programs. So the more we expand in our athletic programs, the more that out-of-state students are going to look our way. So I am required to read this, I think, by Jen. So when we're done this evening, the Office of Alumni Engagement has some great events lined up to help you pass the time in these cold winter months. If you don't know, Monmouth is the Maple City is completely covered right now in that white stuff. So on Thursday, March 4th, Mary Kellogg, who's a friend of the college, she's also president and COO of the Titanic Museum Attractions, which has a couple of locations, will lead us on a tour of the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri, and lead a discussion on experiential marketing. And so if you want a complete lineup of the spring events and to register, just visit the Monmouth College website, go to the alumni page, and there is an events link on the left-hand side. So any other questions? We still have some time. If you'd like to chime in, certainly feel free to do so. I don't see any currently. So one of the other things I will mention is that as long as it does not get shut down, some of you may have participated in our annual Fighting Scots Society golf outing, which is held most years at Gibson Woods here in Monmouth. It is currently scheduled for Friday, June 25th at 1 p.m. It has been a morning event in previous years, but it will be an afternoon event. We'll check in at noon and tee off a shotgun tee off at 1 o'clock, and then dinner, prizes and awards will be at the American Legion, which is right across the highway, immediately following, which hopefully will be around 5:30 or so. So that registration is not open yet. It will be in early April. There will be a save the date postcard that goes out. It'll also be on the Monmouth College website, so you certainly can get to it there. But I did want to plug that, as I am now in charge of that event. So I hope to have a full 36 teams. Coach, I hope to have you and all the other coaches out there as well, plugging your programs and talking about the good old days, as you mentioned earlier, with all your former athletes. So let me double check my phone here. So regarding spring sports, Roger, this just came in via text. And is there a date where there would be a decision moving forward, or is that kind of a floating timeline in terms of the spring sports schedule? Are you scheduled to meet with the other ADs anytime soon?
Those meetings happen twice a week, every week since last March. So one is a COVID-19 required meeting to make sure we're following the Sports Science Institute requirements, and the second is for athletic director duties. The presidents meet as needed. It's normally monthly, but they've been meeting twice monthly. They have meetings upcoming here in the next couple of weeks again, and You don't tell the presidents of colleges what to do. You answer questions and you give them recommendations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't think so. I had looked on the conference website a couple of times, and I think it's something that's been fluid, like pretty much everything else over the last year or so. But good question, and it's just something that is kind of a more of a wait and see. And again, like you said, just answer questions and give advice and see what they have to say. So. I don't see any other questions. We're getting about on the 45 minutes here. I do want to mention lastly that as a reminder, as you leave the webinar, you'll be invited to a short survey. We hope you'll take just a moment to give us your feedback, but more importantly, that you'll share any suggestions for future topics, future presenters, future conversations as we prepare more virtual engagement events this spring. So I don't see, let's see. Oh, here we go. This is from Brent. I don't see the last name. I'm going to guess they're an S. Would you consider a Monmouth College track alumni get together at the Drake Relays?
2 or 3 part deal, Dr. Thurnis. It's got to be safe for us to go. And right now, the presidents are looking at Midwest Conference competition only or primarily. Schools have autonomy to go outside of the league, but those schools outside of the league still have to meet the testing and weekly requirements. Absolutely, we'd be glad to try to meet you down there sometime. We have to make sure we got relays and kids that are going to qualify for that event. So about a 3-parter there. We'd like to do it because we need to get back in touch with you sometime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah. And since that would be an in-person event and maybe an athletic, alumni event,
you need to go, right?
Be willing to travel along and moderate the event and maybe get some some crackers and cheese for you guys. That'd be great for me.
Sounds good.
Love that. So, okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. It's 6:44. I wasn't sure exactly how long it would go. If you have other questions, certainly go to the website, the athletics site. You can see Coach Haynes' contact information. My information is on the alumni development page. So you're welcome to email me as well. One more. Any Central Ohio schools planning on hosting any championships in 2021 or 2022? Off the top of your head, that comes to us from Rob Hurley out there in Ohio.
Rob, we were supposed to be at Indoor Nationals at Spire Institute, past Cleveland. Nothing back Central. I'd have to look and see what's coming up the next couple of years. I'm guessing Spire will get it back again pretty quickly with missing their shot this year. Outdoor, I think Outdoor is supposed to be there in May as well, hoping that meet happens. But people probably don't know and most don't care, but everybody thinks everybody's playing sports. NCAA participation is decided. If participation rates fall below 60%, the NCAA doesn't choose to or have to sponsor championships. Most of the winter sports are averaging between 42 and 48% participation right now. So us choosing not to play actually has us in the majority rather than the minority. So we hope we get a chance to play this spring. If not, we want to be back safely in the fall.
Yeah. Mr. Dahlquist, your question on whether the event will be recorded. Yes, it is being recorded. So you'll be able to view that. Oh, I just see it just got answered. So great. Okay, so Coach Haynes, any closing remarks at all? I mean, again, that's not on the script, but I want to give you a chance if there's anything you'd like to close with.
It's always good to hear from alums, even if they don't agree with everything we do. It's important. What we feel like the work we're doing is important. Not everybody agrees on those topics right now. I feel well prepared based on, as I said, the amount of things I've learned that I really didn't want to know about COVID. We want to get back to normal every bit as quickly as you do. Our kids are doing well. Our coaches are doing well. We think we have a strong group of coaches to help move our programs forward, and we hope that happens sooner rather than later. So stick with us. Yeah,
I would second that. So to close, many thanks, Coach Haynes, for your time. Thank you to all the participants for your time tonight. You didn't have to join in, but you did, and we certainly thank you. Again, if you have further questions or something you want to do, you want to talk about individually, I'm happy to do that anytime. Feel free to call, text, or email me. So everyone, have a wonderful week. Stay safe and stay well. Bye-bye.